I want to talk about today about expenses and ways to reduce your taxes. Because, we all think that's, it's not any fun to track our expenses. And it's certainly not something that's exciting or interesting in the big picture. But it is kind of fun because you can go shopping and spend money and write it off in your business. So let's talk about that a little bit. In the online space, because that's primarily who my customers are. There's, I have other customers that are still holdover brick and mortars. I've got a couple of construction guys. So there's lots of different things that I see that, give you different abilities and different places that you can use write-offs. So in the online space, there's one thing you want to sort of keep in mind that they do allow you 2 conferences a year. So, a lot of people are doing a lot more training than that. So keep in mind that you want to choose your 2 biggest ones and write them off. And then the other ones, your accountant or your bookkeeper will probably advise you not to claim them. But then I also have some clients who do claim them anyways, but they have to be aware that they probably will be, if they are reviewed, they would get refused and they would have to pay back the amount of the tax credit that they get for that. But that being said, know that that's typically what it is. You get 2 a year. And, honestly, unless your business is completely in Australia and you live in Canada, you'll get it denied by Revenue Canada and probably the IRS as well. If you're going to, retreats or business building places in completely other countries where the same kind of training and groups are available locally. So just be aware that you've got to be really smart about making those choices and those expenses. But there's lots of other really cool things like, we all work with computers and monitors, right? So how often do you replace your computer? And does, your spouse use your computer? So then they need a separate one so you can have a dedicated one. Or do you need a bigger monitor? That's like a really big monitor. My husband keeps trying to get me to do this, right? We need a really big monitor. And truly, when I'm doing group trainings, to be able to do that live on Zoom, absolutely, I have no problem justifying a really large, like a TV that I can hook up my laptop to be able to do group trainings for my bookkeepers products. So keep that in mind, things like that you can work that will benefit you as well as your business, and just really think about your purchasing decisions that way. If there's some way you can make them really useful to your business, then they are honestly a business write-off as well. So in the online space, there's a lot more pieces there. All your subscriptions to all your websites, to your tools, your online tools, to your, small training programs, to, we've got so many nickel and diming kind of expenses as far as software that all should be running through. Make sure you're tracking, if you're using PayPal or Stripe, make sure you're tracking the fees that come off there, because those are an expense as well. And if you're just taking the income that actually ends up in your business, yes, it gives you the same number in the end. If you take your, your sales minus your fees, which is the amount that ends up in your bank account, it's the same amount, but it doesn't give you a really accurate picture of how much actual sales you're making and how much those fees are costing you. So you're missing really valuable information there if you're not tracking that, to knowing, okay, this is how much I'm paying in fees. So then if it comes to a point that you've got an opportunity to test out a new payment provider, you know exactly what you're paying. And if you don't have that information, you have no idea. And you have no way to compare it to make a smart decision. So those are a few of the places where you're going to want to have some expenses. You're going to want to be tracking them. The other piece of information is that I want to share with you too is that it's September. So a lot of people get to this point and they're like, oh, it's new January, I'm going to start all these business goals and I get the last quarter and I'm going to push through and I'm going to do all this stuff. And also like, holy crap, I haven't done my bookkeeping for the year. And it's getting built up. So I want to, encourage you to just sit down and deal with that. If we can help, great. We would love to help you. Those contact information above, below, around, everywhere there. We've got lots of options. But also I want you to keep in mind that expensing at end of the year. So if you have anything that's under $500 you need to buy for your business, if you buy it at the end of December, you get the same credit on your taxes as a tax write-off as if you'd bought it in January. So you've had that money all year and you've held it and you do it. You still only get to write off 50% of it, whether it's January or December, for that first year. So if you've got expenses you want to make and you've got some extra money at Christmas, around the Christmas time, maybe, if you've got a course you want to take or a training program, if you can buy it and get an invoice for it, even if you're making payments on it later, it still applies into that December period as an expense and will reduce your amount of tax you have to pay in that period, for the 2018 tax year, or 2019 or 2020 or whenever you watch this. But so those are just a few hints and tips that I wanted to share about your expenses and tracking and why it's really important to be tracking it. Don't miss this step and wait till the end, because if you don't track your income, you don't track your expenses, how do you know how much money you have left over that you need to spend on fun kind of things maybe for your business? You won't know what that looks like if you haven't been tracking your income and your expenses. So that's the bottom line. Make sure you're tracking. And I'm going to say this every video probably. Just track. Find a system, find what works. Use Dubsado, use 17 Hats, use FreshBooks, use a spreadsheet, use pen and paper, use, Xero, which is my absolute favorite. Use QuickBooks, even though I don't love it. You can use that too, right? It's still a great tool. There's so many tools out there. Use something or get help with it. But be tracking that because it saves you money instead of giving it to the government. Who wants to give them more than you have to, right?